with a GDP growth of 4.3%. Add to that record gains on Wall Street, lower inflation, and Trump is tempering the economic hardship inherited from the Biden administration. Trump's economic miracle showing us 5 ways to hypergrowth. Now, we'll dig into the numbers. 79%. That's the increase in GDP growth under President Trump compared to President Biden. It all started off with the passing of the big, beautiful bill, which lowered taxes, put American workers first. Then the global tariffs that Trump imposed lessened trade deficits and brought manufacturing back to America. Trump noting on Truth Social, quote, "The tariffs are responsible for the great economic numbers just announced, and they'll only get better." So, squad, I'm going to bring you guys in on this. Gabriella, it was just a couple months ago where I was told we were heading towards a recession, and now we have probably the most promising economic outlook we've had for a couple of years.
Patience is a virtue, because to unwind this inflation from the holdover administration, I know everyone talks about that. Well, you can't really blame the last administration. You have to think of things now. But we really were in a precarious situation, and I work and deal with energy policy mostly, and with respect to gasoline prices. Electricity will come down. It's just a matter of getting this deregulatory agenda afoot, more production. But gas prices are down for the first time in 5 years. Passengers, travelers are traveling all across the U.S. over 50 miles, according to AAA. The metrics look great because it's more affordable to do so. Fuel is much cheaper. It's now, I think, $2.79. And electricity prices will come down. But that is also because of climate policies that have forced the shift away from reliable energy to that of renewables only. And in the northeastern states, which have experimented here, they're seeing the highest electricity prices overall. And even climate blogs like Heat Map, which love this renewables first agenda, have said Democrats do not have the advantage of affordability with respect to energy. So Republicans do have an opportunity to help channel that message as part of this greater GDP growth and economic growth we're seeing, but you are seeing it definitely with energy.
And Tim, this isn't necessarily the peak. I mean, when we talk about tariffs, that is not something that kicks in overnight. If you're bringing back manufacturing back to the United States, you need to build those companies. You need to bring workers into those companies as well. You have to figure out what you're going to do as far as those international relations when it comes to trade. Is this just the beginning of something larger?
Well, it's really interesting you say that, because Treasury Secretary Bassett repeatedly said, look to the second quarter of 2026. That's when this will have an opportunity to kick in, the manufacturing starting to come back, the job growth we're going to see, et cetera. I think even the Trump folks are beyond thrilled with these numbers happening right now. The 4.3 GDP growth, it defies a lot of expectations. And you mentioned a lot of these economists, Paul Krugman, he must be spinning around going crazy.
Yeah.
Others, they keep calling for, almost begging for a recession. It's not happening. Yeah. In fact, the opposite is happening.
And in fact, there are even more reasons to love the economic turnaround under President Trump, like his deregulation policy, rolling back on federal rules, help cutting corporate costs. Then there's Trump's drill, baby, drill policies. We all know it by now, lowering energy costs and producing oil, as Gabriella was just telling us about, natural gas right here in America. And lastly, his plans to keep lowering inflation, AQ&D challenging the Fed to lower interest rates. Matt, I'm going to bring you in on this one, too. President Trump has gone head-to-head with the Fed chair when it comes to interest rates. He's taken a lot of criticism for some of his economic policies. We all remember, what was it called when he announced the tariffs? They coined it Decision Day or something like that, right, where the whole world economy was supposed to go down. How does he keep doing this?
You know, I think right now, look, I'm not an economist, so I have to put that caveat out there for the audience, but I think right now the battle is perception versus reality in terms of the economy. Just like, because I'm a crime guy, we always talk about perception versus reality in crime. You know, crime does not perceive to be getting lower, even though it is statistically. Now with the economy, these numbers provide some reality behind that perception. People just need to catch up. So like Tim mentioned, there's a little bit of lag period, but I think middle of next year, we're going to start seeing some rosier cheeks on people's faces for sure.
And Cheryl, coming at a rather important time, right? I mean, right now, Democrats are hammering home the affordability question. If this economy is strong, 1 year, less than a year from now, but before the midterm elections, does this issue go away, or does it become the driving force for the Republicans going to the midterms?
The Republicans going into the midterms are going to be in a good spot when it comes to the economy, because Trump, from the very beginning, has taken a long-term approach to fixing not just the previous administration's poor fiscal policies, but all of our administrations for the last 20 years. It's been concessions to China, concessions to other countries with trade deals, and then you add to that open borders, which drive down wages and gives businesses easy access to low wages. All that stuff has really wrecked our economy. So he's taken a long-term approach, and it'll continue.
And, you know, if it was just one statistic, I would be skeptical because it's a big economy. It affects everyone in different ways. But it seems to be that there are multiple ways that you could look at this economy and see something promising. We mentioned gas prices, which have plunged to the lowest since Trump was last in office. Egg prices are the lowest they've been since May of 2023, falling below 99 cents a dozen. And on Christmas Eve, the stock market closing with record highs, meaning that Trump's economic plan is largely working. So, Tim, coming back to you, I wanted the thing that I just mentioned to Cheryl. If it was just the stock market, I'm a little hesitant to say this is a good economy, but those are things that affect everybody's pocketbooks, their wallets, on everyday dinner table items.
Energy prices especially, because you buy gas almost every week for your car, and that 2.7% inflation number cooled off. It beat expectations across the board there. That's a big one. You know, the Democrats keep harping on affordability. The Republicans, and certainly the Trump administration, are starting to drive down those inflation numbers, and it's step by step that they're doing it. Gabriella mentioned the deregulatory effort. It doesn't get a lot of attention because it's hard to show how you're doing it, but the EPA, the Department of Energy, they're doing such great work getting rid of government red tape and regulation on American businesses. That's making a big difference.
And I want to, because energy affects everything, as we've been laying out right here, and inflation is also lower than expected. They, in many ways, go hand in hand, except the left, they did not expect, I should say, that the New York Times still put out this headline: the economy survived 2025, but many Americans are still reeling. So are many Americans, Gabriella, still reeling? Because this conversation paints the idea of a promising outlook, but we're by no means there just yet.
Well, of course, people take sometimes what the headlines say at face value. And if you go more so into blue states, my organization is examining what's happening in energy conversations in New Jersey, New England, all this type of stuff. And unfortunately, let's say the center right or the conservative response on energy is still not being felt to them. They are, however, concerned about reliability and affordability, but they're still clinging onto climate or renewables only. And so I think in much of the country, yes, people are starting to see a little bit of relief coming from the deregulatory agenda. But in those harder to reach places where we might want to try to make some inroads, we still have to work a little bit there. But patience, again, with that. It just takes some time.
And Matt, the crime guy, meaning you follow crime, you report on crime, not necessarily you take part in it, I hope. Otherwise this might be a totally different show. But do these things go hand in hand? Because there was a number that came out this week saying that the murder rate in the United States may be dropping this year by its largest number in recorded history. There's some evidence to suggest that homicides are down, that there is a promising law enforcement action that's being taken. Is that tied to the economy, or is that separate of what this administration is doing?
I wouldn't want to tie that necessarily, because criminologists have long said that they can't really understand why crime spikes the way it does. So I think it's a happy coincidence, though, for sure. And it's definitely benefiting the Trump administration at a time when they really need it.
And Cheryl, what about you? Do you think that this type of topic trickles outside of the economy, outside of elections within themselves, or do you think that, once again, this is maybe we're making it too complicated? Republicans should be focusing on this issue. It's the economy, stupid, right? Is that what we should be doing?
Well, President Trump made it real easy just recently when he struck those deals with the big pharmaceuticals, right, to lower prescription costs and give Americans the same sort of relief that people outside our nation pay for their medicines. So it doesn't get any easier than that.
Then let me ask you this. Why hasn't the Biden administration, for example, done anything like this? Why was it under President Obama when it was kind of a declining or a stagnant economy?
Because Democrats want control, and Republicans like President Trump want to give us control.